everyone. Today is Monday, September 16th, 2024. We're starting to get some fall colors. I'm driving back from northern New Hampshire today. I came up to see if the fall colors had started yet. We'll come back up in maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, and it should look even better. There's some colors, some trees are really bright, especially the ones near water. Ones near water, near beaver ponds that are flooded, go into hibernation earlier because they're dying, so they turn colorful sooner. Older trees, which are weaker, turn colors sooner, but for the most part there's not that much color yet. But all the mountains up here usually turn bright red, orange, yellow. Depends on the weather. If you get the perfect weather, you get those vibrant orange and reds. Then there's years it's mostly yellow. Then there's some years you get a big rainstorm, windstorm, it just knocks everything down. You don't really see anything. There's years that everything just turns brown and falls off if you get a frost too early. You gotta have the right weather for it. So today we're gonna drive down to Connecticut and take a look at a trailer I want to buy. It's a trailer that should help me do repairs on the truck camp. So the truck camp, if anyone remembers, 2 years ago I put a roof on it because it was leaking. It's a roof, it's just pieces of corrugated roofing laying across it, held down with cinder blocks, no screws or anything. Everyone said it was going to blow off. It never did. It doesn't have any lift. It barely overhangs. It worked out for the rain perfectly. The issue is I put a piece of wood in the middle of the truck to give it a slight slant towards each side. By doing so, it's no longer distributed the weight. That's my mistake when there's snow on it. So I have to put some temporary jacks in there in the winter to hopefully have it not collapse. So I want to solve that issue. I'm gonna drive up there with a bunch of lumber, and I want to make an A-frame. I want to make the A-frame a perfect equilateral triangle so I don't have to do many cuts. It's very easy. So I believe it'll be 30 or 60 degrees each angle on it. That's the easiest way to build that. And I want it to be an A-frame, no trusses, because I actually want to maybe make a loft in the truck. That would be so cool. Have a ladder going up in the top for sleeping. Trusses, there'd be too much junk in the way. I'm going to make an A-frame with one main carrying beam in the center of it. So, never built anything like that. This will be a learning experience. Hopefully it doesn't go too wrong. Then I'll have to buy another bunch of roofing for the other side of it, because I'll need twice as much roofing to build this. I'll need a cap. Then I'm going to spray foam the cracks to make it a little more comfy to keep bees from coming in it. And if I don't like how it comes out, I'll cap each end with a vent. Leave it as is. No upstairs. If it comes out nice, I'll put a floor and maybe find some storm windows and make it into a nice livable upstairs. I'm not going to use anything pressure treated except the edges where water might drip on it. It's the only thing that'll be pressure treated. I'm just going to buy regular studs, which are very light. That's a very strong truck, so it's not going to be built like those situations where someone has an old camper or a mobile home where they have an independent roof over it like a pavilion. It's not going to have poles, nothing attached to the ground. Just going to be on the roof. Going to have some boards on the ceiling of the inside of the truck with bolts running through attached to the heavy I-beams of the roof. Should stop it from blowing off. It's a very heavy duty truck because it's old. It's not like the newer box trucks, which are pretty thin. If a pallet falls over, it can punch through the walls of some of those newer trucks. I'm talking about the newer trailers where there's not plywood reinforcement on the walls and it actually has to be well secured to the floor. It's not like that. It's a strong truck. It can handle it. But today I'm taking a ride down. I want to look at a generator trailer that someone has for pretty cheap, which is cool. It's got 3,000 hours on it, but I don't think that's that much for a diesel engine. This diesel generator has its own cooling system like a car does. So I gotta let it idle for a while before I buy it to make sure it doesn't have any overheating problems. I gotta take a look at it, make sure nothing's too cracked, like hoses on it and stuff. It should be okay. I have older equipment that's from the 80s and it's okay. This is a 93, the guy says. if everything checks out, I'll buy a generator trailer today. It's 10 kilowatts, which is 10,000 watts, which can run basically everything in a house. I'm not going to leave this thing at the truck camp, although it'd be a cool off-grid generator. I'm just going to use it for work. It's extremely big for what the power tools I'll even be using, but it's more of a test. It'll be its first job to be able to do with it. If everything works out, I might take it off of the trailer and maybe make it as a standby generator. That would be kind of cool if I do buy it. It's a very good price for the generator, I feel. It's a big military generator. It's painted pretty cool. It's got the dark camouflage to blend in with the jungle, not the desert. So, it looks rusty in the picture, but it's not. It's just painted brown in certain areas. It's just the way it's painted. It looks pretty good, the paint job. You can sit outside without any enclosure. But I'll probably build an enclosure if I do attach it to my house. That'd be a cool video to do, doing a little bit of underground conduit. Gotta put it like 10 feet away from a house. There's some code I gotta look up for it. It's a 100 amp generator, but the military always underwrites their generators, so it's probably more powerful than what they say it is. So that'd be kind of cool to have a transfer switch in the house, so you just shut your main breaker off, turn the transfer switch on if the power ever goes out. You don't want to backfeed the power lines. That's illegal, and you could kill someone working on the power lines during an outage because they'll think it's out. That'd be kind of cool. It's an old generator, but I don't personally know how to do it, but I'll have an electrician friend come over and he can probably show me how to make it into a standby generator. Because you can add new technology to these old things. It's just as simple as getting the technology to turn its starter, have a module to know if it started, to how long to hit the starter for, when to stop the starter, that kind of thing. You can get more advanced if you want to know how much fuel's on it and that kind of thing. You can also add the technology to it where it'll run 2 hours, shut off for half the day, run another 2 hours, that kind of system. Just to run heating systems, run air conditioning, refrigeration, but it doesn't need to run all day wasting fuel because it's such a big generator. So what would be kind of cool is I was thinking, and I don't know how to wire technology. I know how to wire anything in a house, like hard wiring, but I don't know things about technology. That's not my strong suit. But I was told by my friend that there's a way, because I never wanted a solar field because it costs so much, but he was saying I could get a solar field that would power the majority of the house. What that means is things like the heating system don't use a lot of power. It has a blower fan, it has a pump, but that's about it. It's not an electric furnace, so it doesn't use much power. And on the other hand, I do have an electric water heater, which I regret that a lot because it uses a lot of electricity. It would have been cheaper to get one that burned fuel. Next time, though. But then there's things like ovens that use a lot, clothes dryer that use a lot, but everything that uses a lot doesn't run all the time. Things that typically run all the time are lights, charging, computers and stuff. Nothing super big. So what's good about that is the solar field could run that. But these bigger items, the batteries of the solar field will be able to supply a charge for these bigger items, but I was told as soon as there is a current drop in the system, it can tell the generator to kick on for these bigger items while they're running. A system like that, which is solar most of the time, but if the batteries die or there's a sudden demand for more current, the generator would kick in and help during those times. That way the solar field's cost would be a lot cheaper. That would be kind of a cool system if we could get that kind of thing to run. And also, there's another trailer that's $500 on Craigslist I want to also look at on this trip, but I won't be able to pick it up all in one trip. Yeah, this part of the country doesn't let you pull 2 trailers at once. Most trailers don't have a hitch in the back either. Out west, I know in Canada, you can pull a trailer pulling another trailer. You can have a camper pulling a trailer, pulling a boat. You can have a camper flat towing a car, pulling a trailer. You can have a pickup truck pulling a camper, pulling another trailer. Can't do that in this part of the country. I don't know why. Maybe it's the steep hills, but that doesn't make any sense. Out west they have them. Much worse steep hills. But a lot of those states let you pull that, multiple things at once. Here you can't do it. But I'll make another trip if I like it. There's a fuel trailer one guy is selling. It's a 200-gallon fuel trailer with a pump, a manual crank pump. That would be awesome to have with the generator. It'd be also awesome because I wouldn't have to pay a driver to bring fuel oil to the house anymore, which is sometimes a challenge in the winter. I know the fuel company sometimes doesn't like coming up my icy driveway. So if I was able to bring it myself, that would be a lot better. I think legally I can only transport 100 gallons of fuel at a time. This thing, I don't think I can legally move full without a hazmat endorsement or whatever you call it. But we'll see. I'm going to ask the police when they come out to look at it if I do buy it, because in my area you're allowed to transport a unregistered trailer after the bill of sale for a certain amount of days. Then the police have to come out to your house before they'll give you plates, because they got to run its VIN if it has one and make sure it's not stolen. If it has one, I'm saying, because it's a homemade fuel trailer. It's those big tanks you put on the back of a pickup truck, welded onto a flatbed trailer. So that might be a loophole I'm going to have to ask about too, because I know with a pickup truck you can have a fuel tank in the bed to bring fuel out to equipment and stuff. And if this thing's 200 gallons, is that a loophole? It's not like you have 200 gallons worth of gas cans. It's a tank that's made to be in a pickup truck. Or do all those guys need a special permit to have that much fuel, 200 gallons in the bed of their truck? Well, it's one of those fuel tanks that's meant for fueling excavators and stuff. The guy I'm buying it from said he used it for gasoline on his little farm. But it can be used for any of that stuff. If it's in good condition, I might buy it. It's $500 welded to a flatbed trailer. So we will see about that. I don't know if that's a loophole. I also don't know if it's legally supposed to be mounted in that manner. But that's a cool setup, especially for the generator. Well, yeah, I'll use the generator to power the truck camp while I'm doing some power tools at it and stuff. That'd be kind of cool. Then the truck camp, I was thinking if all goes well, I might put a little bit of electrical in it. Some lights inside of just a couple. There'll be LED bulbs, which have a 100-watt equivalent, but they only use 13 watts. Put a few plugs in it. Not for a generator, though. I'll have a big power bank with a solar panel, which is perfect for just running low voltage lights. But if you plug something into like a microwave, it'll just trip its breaker. You can't do anything like that. I'll put a low wattage AC system in it. Maybe. I'm gonna think about that. It would look kind of cool to do some EMT work on the inside of it. I haven't done that in years. It's good to not get rusty at those trades. This will be a good project so I don't forget electric codes. Well, the guy's actually texting me right now about the generator. I'll get back to that guy in a moment. Still about 4 hours out, I think. Maybe 5 hours. I gotta set the GPS when I get to the end of this highway. I know this highway. I don't know the highways after it. So, the colors aren't pretty yet, but I guess a lot of people don't know that. I think the leaf peepers are already up here. Northern New Hampshire and Vermont especially. Not really Maine as much. I don't know why. But I think it's because Maine doesn't have as many big mountains. We have Katahdin, but not as many mountain ranges. But the leaf peeping season's already out. So the tourist towns in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, here's how it typically works. all summer you got tourist season starting when the kids get out of school in late June into late August. Kids are back in school. You got a dead moment in September for about a month or so. No tourists really, except the retirees and people that don't work regular jobs, which it's basically old people traveling at that time of year. Not many. It's not really a tourist time. And after that, late September, October, you got the leaf peeping season. A lot of tourists coming up again. Then when the trees drop their leaves, you got another dead moment of no tourists. As soon as it snows, you got all the skiing tourists, snowmobiling tourists coming up north. Then in the spring, once the snow melts, that's our biggest dead moment. Typically from March or April, maybe it'll start all the way through June. That's the biggest break we have from the tourists up north. Then it starts again. So we already got a lot of leaf peepers, all kinds of out-of-state plates coming up north. Mostly New Yorkers, just like that stereotype Family Guy was showing. All the leaf peepers from New York coming up north. And the stereotype's even true. The New Yorkers coming up, they're not great drivers. You know, when I used to live in the city down to Massachusetts, I don't think I could ever go a day without some idiot almost hitting me. They're with such bad drivers, not using their blinkers, not merging. Well, they bring it up north for the tourist seasons, times of the year. Massachusetts drivers, New Jersey, New York, lower New York, not the upper New York folks. They're horrible drivers. But up north, I can't remember a time when I actually almost got in an accident, even with the tourists. But it seems to happen all the time when I go down south. Try to avoid that area. So the worst drivers I've ever seen are Massachusetts outright. I've been out west, California, Vegas. Their drivers aren't that bad. But there's that bullseye, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. The worst driving, just jackpot of them. Down south, Florida didn't have them. Canada seems to have the nicest drivers. The thing I like about drivers in Canada is they're always going faster than the speed limit. The highways are packed with people, but they're usually flowing very well. At least compared to what I've seen in the United States. Drivers, they don't know how to merge. In Canada, everyone lets you go. If the blinker's on in traffic, someone always lets you in. They seem to have the most patient drivers, and something, I rarely get stuck behind a slow person in Canada. I don't know why. The traffic seems to flow very quickly, even with a lot of people on the road. Yeah. Like, I remember there was one highway in Canada, the speed limit, I think, was 110 kilometers. But everyone was going 140. It's just the flow of the highway. You don't just be that one person that creates the jam by going the speed limit. It's nice when traffic's flowing real fast like that. Get there like a half an hour before the GPS even said you were supposed to arrive.